Hold on a sec. Something's up. Your whole process, the first big step is to translate it into a 2 by 2. Because once you get to the land of 2 by 2, you are happy. How much practice have we had working with 2 by 2 systems? Tons and tons of time. Tons of time. So one of them you were supposed to work on was, first thing I always checked, did I copy it down right? I did. Now, what's that first step? What do you have to do first? What was that first word, that thing you have to do first? You're isolating. You have to pick one variable. It's the same thing as substitution. Same thing, except you're starting with 3 by 3. You're going to pick one variable in one of the equations. One variable in one of the equations. Which one do you want to pick? Yeah. The x in the third. If we isolate that one, we end up with x equals 2y plus 4z minus 5. And then what do you do with this once you have it? You plug it into the other 2. You plug it into the other 2. And what do you end up with? You have to be very careful. If you're not careful, it gets really nasty really quick. 2y plus 4z minus 5 plus 3z equals -1. And what's the other one become? 2y plus z minus 5 plus
4y minus 2z
equals 9. So now you have, what do you have right here? What land are we in now? We're in 2 by 2 land, and we should be happy. You can essentially ignore everything else until you solve for values of y and z. And once you have values for y and z, what can you do with the values that you have for y and z? You have y and z. What's the last value you need to solve this equation? X. You can plug it in up here. Oh, you know what x is in terms of y and z. So you first need y and z. What's the first thing we need to do here? Well, what are we doing? Why are we distributing? What are we doing? Why? 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 We're simplifying. Simplifying. Our goal would be really nice equations that look like this. ax plus by equals c. It'd be nice to combine everything with y's with combining like terms and x's and having a constant all on the other side. It'd be nice to be able to do that. So if we do, how many y's do I have? So I've taken care of the z's. How many y's do I have? So just 4y. And if I add 10 to both sides, what does it equal? 9. Thank you. So there's our first equation simplified. Let's simplify the second one. How many y's do I have on this one right here? Hannah, how many y's do I have in this one right there? How many y's do I have? I see 2y and I see 4y. So how many y's do I have?
-2.
No, I have 2 of them and I have 4 of them. How many does that make?
Right?
No.
That's a subtraction sign.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay, that's it.
Oh, I see. You thought it was.
Like it was
because I put the circle through it. Got it. So it's going to be 6y. How many z's do I have? And yes, that is a subtraction in front of the 2. So how many z's do I have? I'll get rid of this so you can see it. Plus how many z's? I have 4z and -2z, so I have 2z. And then I have the -5. I add that to both sides, and what do I end up with? 14. 14. You add 5. You add 5. So you end up with 14. So again, we're still equations and 2 variables. We have 2 equations and 2 variables. Yes. We can use substitution, elimination, or graphing. Which one do you want to use? Do you want to use graphing? I don't really want to use graphing because what form are these written in? Standard form. And what have I told you I really like you to do if you're trying to graph something in standard form? What should you find? Intercepts. And what's the issue with the intercepts on this one? They're going to be not so nice fractions, and maybe you could estimate it, and maybe then you could estimate the intersection. It's not going to be too much fun. So that leaves you with elimination or substitution. Which one do you want to use? I kind of like elimination because you know if you use substitution, are you going to have some pretty not nice fractions? Yeah, I'd rather deal with big numbers than nasty fractions that also have big numbers in them. So if you do that, the easy way to think about it is, what do you want to multiply the top one by? Let's multiply it by 6, and I end up with 24y plus 66z equals 54. And then what do I multiply this one by? -4. I end up with -24y minus what? 8z minus 40 minus 56? Minus 56? Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
What do we think? No? What do we think? So now with elimination, what do? You add them. And what cancels? What's the nice thing that cancels? The y's cancel, leaving you with, what do you end up with? What's 66 minus 8? 58 what? Z. What's that going to equal? At this point, what does that tell you about Z? Is Z going to be a nice number or an ugly number? Ugly number. This is where we should pause and look at that. See this. Take a look. Look what happened. You're absolutely right. You see this right here? What's missing? That entire thing. Okay. Good job. Good job. So look what happened. All that took to kill that entire thing was forgetting that minus 5y right there. Now, does that change a few things?
Yeah, it should be.
Does it change a few things? It changes just about everything, right? So, good job. Okay, let's get rid of this. Good job. Good catch. So, one transcription error, and look what happened. Boom. Well, not all over. All of that work. Was all of that work mathematically correct that we did?
Yeah.
Yeah, but was it based on the wrong 2x2 system? Yeah, so theoretically, I would have given you great points. If you had done that out and got the fractional answers based on that, that would have been great. But let's work on this together here. So now what does it simplify to? 4y plus 8z minus 10 minus 5y plus 3z equals negative 1. Does that look a little better? Yeah, so it should be, you got this right, negative y plus what? 11z equals... Does that look, not negative 1. What does it equal? 9. So there's our first equation. Was our second equation actually okay?
Yes.
Yeah, it was going to be, how many y's was it? 6y? Plus 2z is equal to what? 14. Absolutely. Absolutely. Good. So now, what method would you like to use? Elimination. What do you want to multiply the top one by? Work? Let's just multiply by 6. If we do that, we end up with negative 6y plus equals 54. And now what can we do with these right here?
Plus 66z.
Plus 66z. Look at that. I'm dropping things all over the place. Now we add it together, and how many z's do we end up with, Kelly? How many z's do we end up with right here?
79. Wait, no.
79. Wow. That's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Keep going. How many z's do you have?
66 plus
2 is 68. So 68 equals, and then what's 50?
Oh, I thought we were doing plus 11.
No. I'm asking you, so if you add these two together now, right here, you add them together. So you get 68z equals? Equals 68. And does that make you happy right there? Yeah, that's great right there. So z equals 1. Good job. So one transcription error. One. Just one. It wasn't even math, really. It was just stenography, right? You're just copying something down that was already there. I would give you most of the credit. If you did that, I would give you most of the credit right there. Absolutely. Especially since you'd end up doing more work, right? So now that you have z equals 1, what variable do you want to find next? Find y. I kind of like this one right here. You know, negative y plus, what is it? 11z equals 9. Z equals 1, so negative y plus 11 equals 9. So what does y equal? Well, negative y equals negative 2, so y is equal to 2. And once you have y and z, look what you have up here. You solved for x, right? You solved for x right here. So, can you plug these two values in? Absolutely. So you end up with x is equal to 2 times 2 plus 4 times 1 minus 5. So x is equal to 4 plus 4 minus 5, which is 3. So what's the answer going to be? 3, 2, 1. Theoretically, if you had enough time, what would you do with this point? Check it. This is a point in 3 space. Absolutely. Good job. One little tiny mistake, whole thing goes away. So it was great that we had things kind of nicely spread out because we could easily see that. Absolutely. Let's try one more. First, what's that first word? That first word is isolate. We love that word isolate, right? The challenge is, though, what do you notice about all of the variables here? What do they have in front of them? All of them have a coefficient that isn't 1. They all have coefficients that are 1, 2, 5, 2, 4, -7, -3, 3, 8, -2. They're all not 1. They're all not 1. So what does that mean you're going to have in unit? You're going to have fractions for a little while at least. So which variable do you want to solve for, Kelly? Which one?
X on the second.
You want to do x in the second one? Why do you tell me why you want x in the second one?
Well, I would say the third one, but it's a -6, so I'm just taking the positive one.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, no, that's fine. It's kind of arbitrary, right? Like it's not one is definitely better than the other. So it all comes down to kind of like what you're feeling. You know, if there was an x with just 1 as a coefficient, pick that one, right? But you're right. You go with that one. So if we isolate on this one, we end up with 4x is equal to 7y plus 3z plus 1. So what does x equal? Do you see how I'm putting parentheses around these? Z plus 1. So now, what do we have to do now?
It's not plus 1, it's 1/4.
Oh, look at that. Good job. Plus 1/4. Oh, okay. So now we have two different equations we need to plug that into. So just so I don't miss anything, look what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this. I'm going to plug this in right here. And then where's this going? Right there. It's going right there. So 2 times 7/4 y plus 3/4 z plus 1/4. Hey, look what I'm remembering. I'm remembering the 5y this time, Lauren. 5y plus 2z equals 0. What should we do to that? Let's just simplify it one at a time here. What's that one word we have to do now? One word. Distribute. What's 2 times 7/4? 7/2. Yes, 14/4, which is 7/2. So 7/2y plus 3/what? Z plus 1/2 plus 5y plus 2z equals 0. Can someone tell me what I would do next if this was me just doing this? What would I do next? Nope. I'd multiply by 2. I would multiply by 2 at this point. Because I would end up with 7y plus 3z plus 1 plus 10y plus 4z equals what? If I multiply everything by 2, it still equals 0. Why did I do that, Calvin? Do you automatically feel a lot better right now? I'm just curious. Do you feel better?
Yes.
I feel better right now. I feel better. Now what should I combine? How many y's do I have? 17y. 7. That's not a 7. That's something. I don't know what that is. 7z equals -1. So there's 17. There's 7, and then we move the 1 over to the other side right there. So we have the first simplified one. We have the first. We have the first. So what I'd like you to do now, I'm going to circle it here. I would like you to do the same thing, everybody. Here's the third equation. And remember, you're plugging in this right here into x in that one. Plug it in and simplify. Do that by yourself. Plug it in and simplify on that. Kids, assuming that these two are correct, what method do you want to use now? Oh, look, we're in 2x2 land and we're happy. We're in 2x2 land and we're happy. Do you want to substitute or do you want to use elimination?
Wait, so is that equation right?
We're going to see if it is. We have 4 of you thinking it's correct, so we're going to see if it's right. We'll know in a second, okay? We'll know in a second. What method do you want to use? I kind of like elimination. What can I multiply that one by right here? I want to multiply it by 7, because if I multiply that by 7, end up with -77y plus 7z equals what?
Wouldn't it have to be negative if you're going to do elimination?
Oh, you want to do negative? Okay, we want to line up the z's. Okay, yeah, you're right, you're right. Negative, so what do you end up with? 77y minus 7z equals, well, what's 7 times 20? 140. What's 7 times 7?
49.
What's 49 plus 140? So it's going to be 189 right here. And which two equations are we adding together now? We're adding together this one and that one. Now, at this point, are you feeling good or a little bit anxious about seeing that number? You're feeling good? And can you feel good and anxious?
Yeah.
No, it's impossible. They're mutually exclusive states. Okay, well, I feel a little anxiety, but I hope it cleans itself up really quickly. Well, what's 188 plus -1? Sorry, what's 189 plus -1? I love it when I put the answer in the question. What happens to the z's when I add these two together? We add these two, they cancel. And then what's 77 plus 17? Is that a happy thing? Yeah, because now what do we get for y? 2. Is that a cool thing when you get y equals 2? Yeah, absolutely. So now when you get y equals 2, which equations can you use? You can either use this one or this one to find, what do we find next? Z. So if we use that, what do we have? We have, let's just copy one of these down. Which one? I'll use this one right here. I'll use this one. So if I use this one right here, there we go. So what do we have here? 17 times 2 plus 7z equals negative 1. What's 17 times 2?
34.
34 plus 7z equals negative 1. So 7z is equal to negative what? No. 35. I hope it's negative 35 and not negative 33, or our whole ball game goes out the window. So what does z equal? Negative 5. Does that still make us happy? It does. So now we go up and we say, hey, we isolated right there, didn't we? We isolated x. Now, is that a nasty fraction right there? It is, but theoretically, are we going to be okay? Do we hope we're okay? I hope we're okay. What are we hoping for? What kind of answer are we hoping for? A nice one, right? So it's 7 over 4. What's y? Y was 2. Thank you. So times 2. That makes us happy. 3 over 4. What's z going to be? Negative 5. And that kind of makes us unhappy because we're going to, oh, but look, we have this quarter here. Is that going to save the day? I think so. So x is equal to 7 over what? 7 over 2 plus, or minus what? Minus 15 over 4 plus what? A quarter. To add fractions, what do we need? So we need to turn this into fourths, so it's x equals 14 over 4 minus 15 over 4 plus 1 over 4. What does that turn out to be? Does it come out to be 0? Is that a valid answer? Is that valid? Is it okay? Is 0 an answer? Sure. So what do we think the answer is? 0, comma, 2, comma. That is totally a valid answer. Put everything away.